If you just knock it up, go hard up on the paddle, that's in reverse.
Okay.
And then hard down will be into drive.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And then it's just one, basically push the accelerator.
Yeah, great. I've got my foot on the brake because I was nervous it was going to go. And is there a handbrake?
No, that's it.
Okay, great. We ready to go?
Yep. It's really like beautiful countryside out here.
It is.
Now turn left.
We see
road.
a fair amount of rabbits and wildlife out here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, really beautiful. I really love driving around.
I'm glad I got back before dark as well. Hi. Like, they can let their dog out now.
Yeah. So how's that feel, all right?
Feels great.
Yeah. So what we can do, see when you take your foot off, just take your foot off the accelerator.
Yeah.
See that green, that's regen braking. So that's putting energy back into the battery. But if you want, you can come to a stop here. Just come to a full stop here. And we'll just do a little acceleration. You don't need to go to 100, but you can get a feel for, because there's no cars coming.
Sorry, I didn't.
That's the only manual thing in the car.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, just an accelerate?
Yeah, so this will give you a feeling of how quick the car can go. So don't be afraid just to plant it for a few seconds, if you like.
All right.
Whenever you're ready. Go. Go. Hold it flat.
Oh my God.
Nice. Oh, you nearly got to 100 there. How's that?
I didn't want to close my eyes, but I felt like I should.
Yeah, I wouldn't encourage you to close your eyes.
Holy moly.
But you felt in control still?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you kind of know what it's got now.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It's pretty insane.
Do you do that all the time?
Yeah, all the time. It's so addictive. It never gets old. It's just so nice driving around here.
I did a couple of days picking grapes out here one year.
They grow great. Oh, there's wineries out here, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they grow. I think I was picking Riesling.
Oh yeah. Nice. Yeah, actually we'll go to the right.
To the right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we can circle around and get back onto the freeway.
Okay.
So how is feeling good? You notice around the corners it holds the corners really well?
It does hold the corners well, and I'm just getting used to when I decelerate that it's a bit more than I think.
Yeah, you can change that setting, but you will get used to it pretty quick.
Right.
Yeah. Just
Sorry.
hard up. We'll keep that indicator on.
Okay.
So yeah, just give it a bit here to take it up to 90. How's that?
Great. Sorry. Going to 85.
That's all right.
I'm sure you've had some very impressive drivers in here, so I hope you're not too bored.
No, not at all. Not at all. Like we've had, yeah. Well, everyone is a good driver in this car, really. Yeah. Sarah Hanson-Young is a very good driver. Like extremely good driver.
I'm sure she's competent at whatever she decides to do.
Yeah. So we can try some autonomous driving if you like.
Sure.
So if you double tap down on the right hand paddle, it'll put two blue lines in. I'll just tell you what's going to happen. When you double tap, if you're in the lanes, if it picks up the lane, two blue lines will come up here.
Yeah.
And then you just need to be really gentle with the wheel.
Okay.
If you pull the wheel, it'll pull it out of autopilot, or you can push the brake, or you can tap up to take it out again.
Okay.
But you can always take over at any time.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. It's quite a winding road here. So we can also wait till we get a bit further if you'd rather a bit more straight road to start on.
I think there's a bit of a straight coming up.
Yes.
Have you had many policemen or
we've had 2 ex-police officers in Queensland who've driven it. And yeah, they both really loved it. And actually, they use these vehicles in the States. There's a number of police units in the US who are already using Model 3 Performances as their highway patrol cars.
Really?
Yeah.
That's nice.
So you want to try now?
Yep.
So I'll maybe just wait till we get around this corner. But it'll take all these corners totally fine.
Really?
Yep. I had it in Youngler near Mackay.
Oh.
The rainforest.
Yes.
There's a range that goes up there. So I've had it up there, which is, the road is literally like this.
Because I grew up in Carbonation Beach, so far north Queensland, but my mum's from Bendigo originally, so every summer we would drive from there to Bendigo, which is around like 3,500 kilometres or so.
Okay.
So I've grown up driving really long distances, and when you think about the amount of attention that it takes to drive, anything that takes some of the pressure off would be really would have been really good for me growing up.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what autopilot does. I was saying I drove 90% of the way from Melbourne to Central Queensland in autonomous. In autopilot, and you feel so much more relaxed when you get to where you're going, because you haven't had to be focusing the whole time as hard as you normally would.
So right or left?
Let's go left, I reckon.
Left, yeah. Where are the big hubs of charging between here and Central Queensland?
Tesla has supercharging stations basically all the way up to Gympie, and then from Gympie I had to use the ChargeFox ones, but ChargeFox have them everywhere as well.
Okay.
But in Queensland, ChargeFox have fast charging stations basically every 100 kilometres all the way up the Queensland coast. Apparently, it goes all the way up to far north Queensland.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they've just announced, Queensland government's just announced they're funding a whole number of regional fast chargers, and they're actually going to build one in Charters Towers as well.
That's really nice.
Which is awesome.
What did Bob Catter have to say about that?
I haven't heard what he's had to say yet, but I would love to go back up there once they've built it.
Yeah.
I'd love to go back up there and charge it there and get a photo with Bob at the charging station.
That'd be so cool.
Because when I went there, I had to charge it from my hotel room. So I had to run a cable in through the door to do that. So I wanted to talk to you today a bit about what you do and what your company does. Can you give me a bit of a background, and so what's the company name and what do you do?
So the company's called Carbonation International, and I'm the COO of the company. We are a technology that transforms CO2 into building materials and other valuable industrial products. So basically we have a team of 20 incredible people based in Canberra and Newcastle, and we are developing a solution to help to decarbonise the hard-to-abate sectors first. So at the moment, if you look at the ways that the Earth naturally deals with CO2, you've got oceans and trees and lots of nature-based solutions, but also the Earth naturally absorbs CO2 over millions of years. So when it rains, it pushes CO2 into rocks, and on a geological time frame, the Earth absorbs CO2.
Yep.
So we've taken that process from millions of years into a matter of hours a pilot plant in Newcastle. And I joined the team around 8 years ago now as the first employee, and it's been really interesting, really good.
And you work with the university as well on the tech, or are you developing the stuff yourself? Or?
So we started off, we've always been a commercialization focused venture, so we're trying to show the steel and cement and chemicals industry that their emissions can be turned into valuable products and profit, because we think that if we can incentivize companies to they'll do so quicker than waiting for legislation to enforce that.
Yep.
So we've been working with a number of different universities all over the world, as well as doing our own in-house research. So we have, some important patents, but a lot of what we do is in know-how, and yeah, it's going really well because we've finished a pilot phase, and now we've just secured $14.6 million from the federal government to build a demonstrator. Yes.
Congratulations, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Did you just find out about that last week? Or?
Yes, just last week. And
fantastic.
That's a really strong signal that we're going to be developing low emissions technologies that are part of the circular economy.
Yeah. And we always, whenever we talk about reducing emissions, we instantly think of power generation and reducing our dependence on fossil fuels, etc. But there are so many other industries that we need to tackle which are far more complex. I mean, fossil fuels is relatively simple. We've got renewable energy, we've got electric vehicles, the technology's there. But with our materials production, steel production, concrete especially produces a lot of emissions, doesn't it?
That's right. It's a really highly emissions intensive product.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been doing some formulations with large worldwide cement manufacturers in order to create lower emission cements and concrete, and that's showing a lot of promise. But we also, just linking into what you've been saying, we're focusing on trying to decarbonize the whole of the economy. So people do get caught up on energy quite a lot because we do have a lot of emissions coming from energy. But steel, cement and mining as well really needs to decarbonize. We need to find ways to make all of those industries more sustainable. That's how else are we going to make our batteries and electrify so many of our sectors? It's really important that we have solutions.
Yeah.
So our technology is called carbon capture and utilization.
Just, up here, and we'll go left here.
Yeah. Carbon capture and utilization, or carbon capture and use.
Rather, as opposed to carbon capture and storage.
That's right.
You can plant it here if you want, just for fun. Never gets old. This might be, sorry, we'll come back to what you're saying, but this might be a good spot to try autopilot.
Oh, yes.
So if you double tap down on that side, and now just speed gently, now you're out.
Sorry, yep.
You're right. It's good to get a feel for it. So now you can kind of like keep your hands like handy, but it's going to take this corner fine.
Okay.
This is the safest place to do it on the freeway.
Okay.
So once you get comfortable, then you can get your train of thought back. So carbon capture and storage, which really isn't proven at scale yet. This is different to that. This is carbon capture and utilization.
That's right. So we're turning CO2 into value in a circular economy way, whereas CCS, carbon capture and storage, it just pumps CO2 underground.
Yeah.
And
just a slight force. Just put a little bit of force on it.
Yep.
There we go. That's all you need to do. It'll just prompt you to do that every now and then.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And how about with this?
It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's totally fine. It's got it all sorted.
Great.
Yeah.
So carbon capture and utilization is an alternative technology group, and some of the hardest work that we're doing at the moment is just getting people to understand that you can take your emissions and turn them into products, not just the building materials like cements and plasterboards and things that we focus on publicly, but you can do fuels, chemical feedstocks. There's companies overseas turning CO2 into lipsticks and vodka. And
lipsticks as well? Really?
Yeah. So it's just, if you employ a thought process where you think, what in my life could I embed carbon dioxide into? There's so many different things, from your windows to your walls to paper. There really are limitless opportunities right now, and it's exciting to be a part of that, where we're focusing on the markets where we can lock away the most amount of CO2 immediately.
Okay.
So we're looking at our technology can scale to the millions or billions of tons of CO2.
Yeah.
So if we want to lock away 1 billion tons of CO2, we're producing billions of tons of product.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Sorry,
Every now and then it's going to flash,
yeah.
and then it's just prompting you just to touch it slightly,
Okay.
just so that it knows you're still there and you're still awake. Yeah, yeah. So if you miss it, I'll reach over and just touch it. But if you see it, just give it a But you're doing fine. Yeah. So the CO2 you mentioned earlier, some of it is coming from processes, and you mentioned nickel. Now nickel is interesting because I've heard that the new Tesla battery packs are going to be using a lot of nickel, and Elon Musk actually recently said that, you probably know this quote better than me, but he's saying really seeking sustainable nickel production. Do you know his quote? What his quote was?
So he said something like, if Australia can produce sustainable nickel, that Tesla will buy it.
They'll buy like heaps
clear
of it.
Market signal that we should be trying to develop sustainable nickel here. And so one of the projects that my company's working on is showing that we can decarbonize nickel mines.
Okay.
So by taking nickel tailings and combining them with CO2 from the mine source, we can combine them together and create cements and plasterboards and things that can make a profit.
Okay.
And our initial studies are really good. They're showing a lot of promise, so we think that we can actually scale this technology in the nickel industry in Australia.
Wow.
And if it works well here, then we can help the rest of the world.
Wow, fantastic. And where are the nickel mines in Australia, or where's the refining being done?
In Western Australia.
West Australia.
Yeah.
And would your technology be utilised kind of near the mine site?
Yeah, so we need 3 things ideally in order to use our technology.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be close enough to an emission source.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be close enough to either a mine waste, so like steel slags or mine tailings or serpentinite rocks, anything with a magnesium or calcium content. And we need to be close enough to a local market that wants to buy the product.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, so at the moment there are some really good opportunities in the industrial regional centres of Australia. And our technology right now is based in Newcastle, which has all those 3
All those things, yeah.
But there's good opportunities in Western Australia, good opportunities in central Queensland and all of the places you can imagine.
Yeah, wow. Brilliant.
Yeah, it is really exciting because the steel and cement industry don't have very clear paths to decarbonisation, and the nickel industry also. There's minor and marginal and important incremental steps that we can do to clean up emissions, but we're trying to be bold and ambitious from the start.
Yeah.
So it's exciting when you talk to people who don't know about the solution, because it gives a little bit of hope.
Yeah. So with nickel, that like theoretically that they could run their entire plant on renewables, but they're still going to generate CO2 in the production, and that's where your company's technology can capture that CO2, put it into building materials, and basically you're sequestering it into building materials.
That's right. Yeah. So building materials or any kind of myriad of the other technologies.
You're in manual now. Sorry. Oh, you're right. That's fine. Just another Tesla there as well. Hey, are you feeling comfortable? You're all good. Yeah.
Thanks for checking in.
No worries. Indicators on this side.
Yeah. No, I was just going to go back into.
Into auto.
Into autonomous.
Yeah.
I might overtake and then do it.
Well, another thing I can show you, if you go into autonomous, we can actually adjust the distance back.
Okay.
I can show you how to do that if you like.
That'd be cool.
So just double tap down. And now this is swerving all over the place. This button here will, we're actually back 7 car lengths there now, so that will adjust. You can go in and out by going left or right.
Okay,
but it looks like we're already back. But yeah, you can feel free to take it out. We can go around him and then lock it back in, whatever you like.
Okay, I'm enjoying the chat.
Yeah. So this, so you've received some funding now. Will this go into further developing the technology, perhaps a pilot plant or something like that?
So we have already a pilot plant in Newcastle, and we're making these materials every day using emissions from an ammonium nitrate factory in Kooragang Island.
Mm-hmm.
So the money that we've just received, we're going to build a demonstrator. So that's one order of magnitude scaled up, and it's a really important step in order to get to industrial scale.
Okay.
The thing is that the largest companies in the world have come to us and just said, hey, we want to buy your technology, we want to buy your products. But a lot of them want it to be at scale right now.
Yep.
And we need to build the next scale up in order to get there. So this is going to be a really important phase for us. Yeah. And we're doing it quite quickly. We hope to have built the demonstrator within 2 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're building it in a mobile way, so it's going to be a mobile demonstrator built in Kooragang Island. But then once we've shown the technology works in that setting, we can take it to Port Kembla or to Gladstone or to Kalgoorlie. We can move it to
showcase it to people in those regions, and
especially because we can use it in so many different industrial settings that we need to validate it and show that so that people feel confident that they can build it there.
Yeah.
So sorry, I just took it out.
Yep.
Is it okay if I?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just going to let you know, but you're on to it. That's really cool. I'm actually hoping to get up around Newcastle area in August.
Yeah.
So if I do make it up there, I'd love to come and check out the plant and yeah.
I would love to show you the plant.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, because it's these. I mean, I often will talk about fossil fuels and energy, but as we were saying before, there's so many other things. There's so many other more complex issues with decarbonising our economy. So I think that things like what your company are doing is really important to start talking about those things, and for people, for people to understand that there are a lot of other solutions required.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yesterday in Newcastle, the Governor General came and did a tour, and the reason is because I met him last year and gave a presentation, and he said that he grew up in Port Kembla and his father was working in the steel mill, and he, as a child of the steel industry, is really interested in how we're going to transition steel.
Yeah, wow.
And that was a really important reminder to me that we're looking at, when you say transition, we are actually talking about real jobs, real people. We need to be ensuring that we're able to get to net zero and do it in a prosperous way, where we all have good jobs and good lives.
We need to bring everyone along.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel really strongly about that because I guess I live in Canberra now, but I grew up in far north Queensland, and we have so many different, so many of my friends work in different industries to what my friends do down here.
Yeah.
So it makes me even more aware of bringing everybody along.
Yeah, for sure. We can head to the charging station now. I can show you that if you like.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So the maps is amazing as well. So the supercharger. There we go. So it's going to route us there now. Third exit. So you might need to jump. Might need to do it. Go all the way around if you can.
Sorry.
You're right.
Sorry.
You're right.
You can edit that out.
It's all good. You got it.
So we're going back the way we came.
Yeah, just a little way, and then
right.
and then we'll exit, and then around that way. Everybody goes for the
I drive a Volkswagen. So
right. That's on the left-hand side as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot to take in when you drive. And you've done like a pretty amazing job of explaining what you do while learning autopilot. Sorry to put you through that. That was pretty full on.
Last year, 2019, I hired a car in France, and it was a manual car. So I was driving on the left, the right-hand side of the road with a transmission on the right-hand side in a manual.
Okay.
And my friend was talking to me, and I was like, I can't learn everything all at once. Yeah. We have to just sit inside.
You've just explained a really complex process while learning how to drive Tesla. And if you take this exit here.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I probably should have shown you autopilot and then let you explain the...
No, so long as the video isn't too stop and start like.
No, I think this is going to be a great video. Okay. This is where I want to take the channel. I want to talk to people who are doing really interesting things like you are in your company, and I want to like help provide some vision and some hope, because I think the Australian climate movement has done a great job of elevating the issue of climate in Australia, but now we need to talk about solutions, things like electric vehicles, things like what you're doing, and provide people with some hope and provide actual excitement for the future.
Yeah, I was on Q&A last year, and reason I was on Q&A twice last year, but
really?
Sorry, I didn't put it up hard enough.
Yeah, hard up. We'll keep it on there.
One of the reasons was because they wanted to feature climate hope and actual solutions or examples of climate action. And so that was a really interesting experience, because the previous week before that was the bushfires.
Oh, yeah.
And the bushfires were still burning, actually, but it was like, so that was really hardcore and sad. And then the one that I was on was more like, let's also now remind people that we can do something to all of us be a part of the solution.
Yeah.
And that was, it was really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's when we're really going to start to see a shift in the momentum, is when people start to feel excited about the future. And we should be excited, because, we're going to, like, decarbonising our society is going to mean, we're going to have cleaner air.
Yeah.
We're going to have quieter streets. We're going to have more sustainable industries. So there's a lot to look forward to. There's a lot to be worried about. But if we can mobilise and we can get on top of this, we can have a lot to look forward to.
I fully agree with you. There was a quarterly essay printed last year by Judith Brett, and it was called "The Coal Curse." And in it, so she even admits in it that she didn't really want it to be called that. She wanted it to be called the resource curse, but it was more punchy to call it the coal curse.
Yeah.
Before people get turned off, I'm gonna just. Okay. I'll just sit behind this person.
Yeah, that's all right.
In the essay, she talks about how Australia learned, because we've been so blessed with so many resources under our ground, we've learned to dig those resources up and sell them. And in that time, she talks about the historical political context. Over the past 70 years, we've forgotten how to value add, and we've lost our advanced manufacturing capabilities, and that's really, it's a real loss. So it's something that we've been talking a lot about in our company, and talking when we advocate for technologies just like ours. It's upgrading our wastes and ensuring that if we can turn carbon dioxide into a resource and create valuable products, then that's also learning how to value add and maybe create whole new sustainable industries.
Yeah, absolutely. And the resource curse, it'll just be this exit here. I had the fortune a few years ago of meeting the former Prime Minister of Norway,
Oh, yes.
And he did a lecture in his last year as Prime Minister in 2014. He did a lecture at the Kennedy Business School at Harvard, and it was called The Oil Curse.
Right.
And so there's a lot of similarities between Norway's economy and Australia's economy, because their economy is so dependent on oil. So, and he... Jens Stoltenberg is the former PM's name. So he was finance minister in the 90s when Norway set up their Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund, and they started taxing oil companies at 78% of their profits. And they've been doing that ever since. And apparently the fund's worth 1.7 trillion now. It's the largest sovereign wealth fund in the world.
Yes.
And they invest in whole range of companies, but they have a mandate to only invest in environmentally and socially responsible companies. So they're having a real impact. They own something like 2% of global stocks. So it has huge impact. And in this lecture, he talks about how, Norway was able to, kind of take control of the resource sector and guide it in a certain direction and utilize that the revenue for their social policy and stuff like that as well. But yeah, it is a massive problem when a country is so dependent on resources. They neglect their value adding or high tech manufacturing, and you can actually see that in the difference between the Norwegian economy and the Swedish economy. So the Swedish economy has Volvo and Saab. They have a lot more high-tech industries. Norway doesn't. So Sweden doesn't have the resources that Norway has. So Sweden has actually kind of been forced to develop high-tech industries. So yeah, when a country has a lot of resources, it kind of falls back on that. So that's why we do really need investment in high-tech industries in Australia to try to really promote those industries.
So it doesn't have to be that way. So I wonder what policy levers can be pulled in order to incentivize these industries. Do you know?
Yeah, I mean it's a good question. I think like direct investment into companies like what you're doing, which is what's happening, is a great start. And developing those markets, because new markets, I used to run a business, and like developing new markets is really difficult, and it takes time and it takes money.
Yeah.
But once you develop the market, it can kind of grow on its own. It's like a hamster wheel. Yeah. If a hamster's in a wheel, like you spin, it might not be running, but you start spinning the wheel a little bit, then the hamster will start running on by itself. It's the same with the new technologies that we're trying to promote in Australia. We need to seed them and get them going.
Yeah.
What do you think? What kind of policies can we use for that?
Yeah, so I'm thinking about the way the government at the moment have been posing international collaborations to ensure that that anything that's good that's being developed overseas also is brought into Australia, and that we're collaborating and co-developing IP.
Mm-hmm.
We know that this is the decade of action. Like we actually need to get cracking on getting to net zero as soon as possible, and with the biggest companies in the world signing up to net zero by 2050 and most of our trading partners, I think that there'll be just an explosion of investment and an interest in low carbon technologies and electrification.
Yep, absolutely.
So I think that
we'll go left here.
Thanks. All right.
It's around the back of the Macca's actually. So keep going, and then at the roundabout, turn left.
Oh, is that a circus?
That is a Sesame Street circus. I'll just show the viewers that one, because I've been driving past this 3 times a day when I go to the charging station, because I'm taking so many people.
I love Sesame Street. I can't even tell you.
Really?
So
maybe you should go to the Sesame Street circus. Yeah?
I think so. I grew up in
just straight, and then left at the roundabout there.
Okay, now enter the roundabout. For the first 6 years of my life, I lived in a caravan. With
Okay. You just gotta go.
my mum and my auntie and my grandfather. We
Okay.
travelled around Australia.
Oh,
and
wow.
So we had a little TV and a VHS, and I think it was like one VHS of
Just the next, this entrance here, yeah.
one VHS of Sesame Street.
If you want to pull into that up there,
Yeah.
you can just pull up.
Do you want me to just reverse in? Or?
Yeah, you can reverse in.
Yeah.
So knock it hard up. And then you can use the, I find it easier to use the screen actually.
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
because the screen's like really high res.
So I've gone a bit too far.
That's okay, you can come back a bit and then go out, and then these lines really help you
Yeah.
to line it up. Yeah, that's it. That's it, you keep going. You can go all the way.
All the way.
Yep, you'll bump into it. It'll disappear, and then you'll kind of bump into
okay,
it.
right.
Yep. So yeah, about there. That's good. And now if you just push the P, there's a P button on the end of that.
Oh yeah.
There, yeah.
Great.
And that's it. And yes, Sophia, it's been really great chatting with you. And what was the name of your company again?
MCI, Mineral Carbonation International.
Mineral Carbonation International. And yeah, I'll post this video and I'll put a few links to your company in the comments. And it's been really fascinating chatting with you, and hopefully I'll catch up with you in Newcastle. And Sophia, thank you for driving this electric vehicle today.